Okay, let's talk about camping stoves. What's hot about them and what's not. All kinds of different ways of going camping. Backpacking, motorcycles, cars, RVs. Um, the sky's the limit when you want to go camping and explore the outdoors. But while we're out there, what are some of the really essential things that we need? One of them is being able to cook our food. So what I've got here is a conglomeration of all the different ways that I have of cooking food when I go camping. All the way from backpacking all the way to the stupidly luxurious don't have to have it. And let's talk about some of these. So if we're just going backpacking and we need something really lightweight because we just have our backpack on, and more than likely we're not doing more than cooking dehydrated meals. So boiling water, and that's about it. For something like that, we've got our Jetboils. They come in all sizes, colors, shapes. This particular Jetboil, it'll come off and you can put just a pot holder on it where you can set a pot on there. And they're really fast at boiling water. And they don't use a lot of fuel. That's what they're famous for. So they heat water really fast. Another backpacking type stove would be these little like MSR Pocket Rockets or the Soto Windmasters. Those things are really lightweight, made for backpacking. They're tough, rugged, will last forever. In addition to that, you've got like those little Spider all-fuel stoves that'll burn gasoline, kerosene. It'll even burn these little butane bottles. You know what I'm talking about? But if you're backpacking, those are kind of cumbersome. The big mountain climbers that have base camps will take those with them lots of times because the fuel that you can burn in those won't freeze in those extreme temperatures. But here where I go camping, the way I like to camp is not in sub-freezing temperature. So just having these fuel bottles is more than enough. Now, if you want to get a little more, step up just a little bit from just a backpacker stove, something like this is a Primus. And it's just got the bigger around burner on it. And for cooking in pots and pans without just heating the very center of the stove, you can see how the Soto Windmasters and the MSR Pocket Rockets, they have a little bitty burner area where the Primus steps it up and makes a bigger burner area. So it's more efficient, it's more fun cooking in pots and pans where you're not having to just cook in a little spot in the center of the pan. Now that we're getting out of the backpacking, we're going to step over into more car camping, motorcycle camping. These are also great for motorcycle camping. And I do take those motorcycle camping because even on a motorcycle, you don't have that much space, not like a car. You have a little more carrying ability than just a backpack. So you can take a few bigger things, but those are the things that I take on my motorcycle or just in a backpack. Car camping, some really small stoves for car camping. This little Jetboil single burner. Jetboil also makes a double burner that folds up together. It'll fold out into two burners like this stove. And then you've got, and it runs off of a one pound propane bottle. And then you've got these little fuel canister stoves that run off of butane. Single burner stoves, and they've got about the same burner size as this Primus does, about that big around, and really good for cooking food, not just boiling water. But those are some couple of lightweight car camping type stoves. And then you've got a grill, so you can put charcoal or wood in that grill and grill just about anything you want. Some places where you're not allowed campfires, you're also not allowed charcoal or wood stoves. So be mindful of that wherever you're camping, whatever season it is. But also just cooking over a charcoal grill, you can also put a pot or pan right on top of that and cook your food. So you can grill steaks on one side and you can boil vegetables on the other. And then if you're going to step it up, you'd want a little more than just a single burner stove. They've got dual burner stoves. Like I said, the Jetboil makes one. There's a lot of different models of these on the market. There's no way I would want to have every model of every type of stove on the market, but this gives you a good idea of what is out there and available. These little Coleman 2-burner stoves hook up to a 1-pound bottle. You don't have to take a big 20-pound propane bottle, just a little 1-pound bottle, easy to throw in the trunk of your car, and great for cooking 2 pans at the same time. So especially great for if you're cooking for more than one person. If you step up from that, you've got something like this griddle, which runs off of a big bottle of propane, and it also has an adapter to run off of a 1-pound bottle of propane if you don't want to take a big bottle. But when I'm camping for multiple days at a time and I'm doing a lot of cooking, I'll bring a big bottle of propane. Now let's talk about some of the why we want to take it and why we don't. Well, we'll go back in reverse order. Taking this right here, a big griddle, usually if you're going to be cooking, if it's a group camping event, a big griddle would be great to have because you can cook, I don't know, 16, 20 burgers on there at one time. I don't know, 40 hot dogs. You can cook so much food on those griddles and they're real easy to clean up. And then if you want to cook something really nice like steak and asparagus, which we did last night, it's perfect for that also. You can cook just about anything on a griddle. If you've ever been to one of those Japanese steakhouses and you feel like you want to be a hibachi chef, this is a great way to go about doing it. It'll impress your friends, I'm sure. But the not so hot thing about this is it's big, it's cumbersome. Even though it does sit on a tabletop, it takes up a lot of space in a car trunk. If you have a big RV or a truck or a big trailer that you can put it in, that'd be great. But for most of us that are just taking our car or our little Jeep or whatever to go camping, this is overkill and not needed. What's not so hot about this Coleman little 2-burner stove? It too is sometimes a little cumbersome if you don't have a lot of room and you don't have to cook for a lot of people. If this is the only stove that you've got, great. It'll do everything you need. But if you're just heating water for dehydrated meals or you're just little single pot meals, it's really overkill if you're not big into cooking. If you are big into cooking, very helpful. It's got these little wind turners on them, wind breaks, which helps a lot with saving fuel and making sure the heat stays up underneath your pans. Let's see. And it packs down into something like that. The butane cook stove, not a bad idea for car camping. Actually, I don't have much bad to say about it. The little butane bottle, it's easy to take 2 or 3 of those for a extended camping trip, but for an overnighter, that's all you need. The butane is already in there. even a 2-day trip, would a week, just a Friday and Saturday or whatever. That right there, those little single burner butane stoves they are the bomb diggity. Same way with this little Jetboil single burner stove. Packs up pretty tight. It just takes a little bigger fuel bottle, but I like cooking with propane. It's very dependable, gets really hot, and having a big surface to put a pot or a pan on and it not tipping over is a big plus for these little stoves. Now when you get to these littler, smaller stoves, you do have a problem with your pot or pan wanting to tip over, and you need to make sure they're on a very level surface to keep that from happening. And then again, the smaller the burner, the more it's just going to heat in a single part of the pan. And you're either moving the pan around on the burner or you're moving the food around a lot in the pan to get it to cook. And so you have to be really creative when you're using those little small stoves. The Jetboils, I can take them or leave them. They're really handy, I guess, for backpacking. You can heat your water. You can even make a meal inside of it as long as it's a liquid type meal. You can't fry potatoes. You can't cook meat in it or anything like that. It requires water, soup. You can make soups, that kind of stuff with it. No problem. And if you don't want to take an extra pot with you and you're just making soups or boiling water, you can't beat a good old Jetboil. And now there's other companies that make them also. I think MSR makes one. Probably some other companies by now are making them also. The downside to the what's not so hot about the charcoal stove is taking a big bag of charcoal, or having to take wood with you, or having to get wood where you're at. Anytime you're cooking with wood and you're cooking directly over a wood flame, you want it to be a hardwood. These softwoods, pines, firs, stuff like that, there's a lot of oils in the wood. And when you're cooking right over the top of that, those oils kind of coat the outside of your food. And so not that it's going to kill you, but it certainly doesn't help with the flavor of your food. And I just don't recommend it. A good hardwood, oak, hickory, apple, cherry, anything like that is really good to cook food over the top of. Steaks, chicken, hot dogs, because there doesn't have as many oils in the wood and won't coat your food. And then another downside, like I said, is that in a lot of camping areas these days, they're very limited on being able to have a campfire. And if you can't have a campfire, generally you can't have any type of open wood or charcoal flame that's not regulated, where you can't just turn it off with a button or a knob real fast. So that's the downside to that. Now, some things that I didn't include in here, there are little wood twig stoves, like the firebox stoves. I have one, I just didn't bring it with me, sorry. But those are not bad. To cook on them, you have to constantly feed little twigs into them. So it's not something you can set a pot of water on the stove and walk off and go get other things ready and do other things. Before too long, in those little twig stoves, it'll run out of fuel and it'll quit cooking. And then you got to start a new fire and start all over again. So you really got to babysit them. Just sit right there and feed them and keep it while you're cooking. Have everything prepped beforehand, not have to do anything during your cooking session. And I thought they were really cool at first, and I've used them quite a little bit, but I don't use them that much anymore. Charcoal works great. You can also put charcoal in those little firebox stoves. So if you have any questions, comments, about different types of stoves. What type of stove do you take whenever you go camping? Do you car camp? Do you camp off a motorcycle? Do you backpack? And what have you found to be your best stove of choice? If you would, please leave that in the comments. Thanks a lot. See you next time. If you've ever been to one of those Japanese steakhouses where, what is it called? Hey babe, what are those Japanese places called? Hibachi Girls.
Yes.
And we got people coming by. So this is definitely a place where I would edit.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello. He's okay, buddy.